Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to Vlogmas Day 10. We only have when this video goes out, we'll only have 2 days left of Vlogmas, which is Vlogmas Bookmas, which is kind of crazy. I'm gonna be sad. What am I gonna do when I'm done making videos for you guys every single day? Probably sleep, a lot. That tea is actually way too fucking hot to keep in my hands. I'll drink it in a bit. Today's video is going to be a little all over the place, but that's okay. Today I'm going to be discussing 10 books that I DNF'd in the year 2024 and 10 books that I unexpectedly loved in 2024. We're going to start with the books that I unexpectedly loved because I don't know how much I'm going to be talking about the books that I did not like and DNF'd, and I don't know how much of a tangent I'm gonna go into with each of those books. So let's just go ahead and start off with the positives, shall we? The first book that I unexpectedly loved in the year 2024 is The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year, which I actually just read this past week, as you guys know. Read the book for book club. That's my book club's pick for the month of December, and it was so freaking good. I listened to the audiobook. It was the perfect blend of like mystery, crime, romance. There's no smut in it. It's truly just tension. And this man, he has I'm gonna giggle thinking about it. He's been obsessed with this girl for years. The MMC has been obsessed with this girl for years, and she just like didn't know. She's going through a rough patch. There's a little bit of forced proximity throughout the book because they are both spending Christmas together because they're both authors, and they got invited to spend Christmas with one of their biggest fans. Invited them both to spend Christmas in the English countryside. If you think it doesn't get better, it gets better. It's in the English countryside. The houses that were in the TV show Rivals, that's very much what I was picturing the setting being in this book. It was lovely. The second book we have is On the Line. On the Line, I believe in my review, this is a spicy romance book. I believe in my review for this, I said that the characters felt like a breath of fresh air. That is so accurate. The characters in this book just were so easily lovable. And you know that TikTok audio where it's like, the food was so good I need to go to the back and f the chef? Like, this book is like, the food was so good I need to go to the back and f the chef. They both work at a restaurant. And here's the thing, because the setting of this was in a restaurant, I went and got a job in a restaurant. If you didn't know, I work a part-time job alongside making content full-time. And I work in a restaurant a few days a week. I do not want any romance out of it. Actually, that's the last thing that I want. I do not like romance in the workplace. It freaks me out. But because the setting of this book was just like fun, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get a job at a restaurant. And I did, and I've been working there since August. Back to the book. The romance between these characters, she's very much a rich girl who ended up getting a job so she can pay for her life now. And he is not a struggling man, but like he has some issues that he's working through in this book. And they, again, were just lovable characters. Next we have Nectar of War. Here's the thing. They took this book off of Goodreads, so I don't know if it's still called Nectar of War. This is a high fantasy book. I've mentioned before when I've talked about this book that I literally had to take notes while reading it because high fantasy is just a lot for my brain to handle. And this book is getting traditionally published. Eventually, I'll try and find the new cover, the new title. I don't know if it's out yet, but I saw the author of this post a TikTok promoting her book and I was like, I want to read it. And I loved it. Next we have Off the Beaten Path. Oh, this is another cutesy romance book with no spice in it. And the two main characters meet anonymously online at first, and then they find out they're chatting to each other, and then they're also neighbors, and he's a single dad. Ugh. And he gets like really annoyed with her, but we know he likes her. Like, we know deep down we're like, you're not annoyed, Mr. Man, you like her. The setting of this book I feel like is perfect for winter, so as we're getting into the winter season, add this book to your TBR. Very wholesome, and the vibes are really good. A Fragile Enchantment. I listened to the audiobook of this. I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, I think, in my Q&A video. This is a young adult fantasy novel. The book is actually right there. That's my Fairy Loot edition. It is a very classic young adult romantasy. Very classic. I only read it because I got the Fairy Loot book. I was like, you know what? I need to read at least one of these fucking fairy loot. Oh my gosh. I was like, I need to read at least one of these. So I read that and I was pleasantly surprised. Next we have Takeover. This book gives mafia vibes, but it's not mafia vibes. The MMC of this book is a billionaire And she has to get into an arranged marriage with this man. Oh no, she has to get into an arranged marriage with this rich man. This book was promoted as being billionaire romance. And you know, when you go into a billionaire romance, sometimes it hits, and then other times you're like, meh, read this before, next. This hit. It did. This book does carry on into a second book, which I ended up buying the second book because you have to buy it. It's not available on Kindle. I did buy the second book because it ends off on a little bit of a cliffhanger. In the first book. Next we have Hidden Pictures. I was so freaking scared going into this book because I had borrowed one of my friend's books, and when you like look through the pages, you can see the actual pictures that the child within this book is drawing. And I was like, what the is that? That is creepy. I was so scared, like looking at the pictures. So I was scared going into it. It wasn't that bad. It really wasn't. It was honestly kind of mild horror and not as thriller aspecty as I thought it would be, not as jump scary. This girl goes to nanny for this family and watch their one kid. And at the beginning, the child is like drawing these very simple childlike pictures. And over time, not only is a bunch of other creepy shit happening, but also the kids' pictures start getting freaky and really, really, really advanced. And the girl watching the kid is like, what, did you draw this? And the kid's like, yeah. Oh, I want to say a spoiler for this so bad, but I can't. I gave this one actually 5 stars. Next we have Burn for Me, which is the beginning of, I believe, a 6-book fantasy series. I was recommended this book and oh my gosh, I did not expect to enjoy it at all. I think this was written, I want to say 2014, but I might be wrong. Alona Andrews is a combo author of a husband and a wife, right? And going into it, I was like, I don't know, the vibes of the cover are looking very, very interesting. What is this? What is this cover? And also, is this just fantasy? Is it just romance? I didn't know. Incredible. The first book was. The second one, okay, fell off a little bit. But this first one, good, so good. I gave it 4.5 stars. I liked it so much. And it's a little bit of enemies to lovers romance in there, which I thoroughly enjoyed because I don't normally like enemies to lovers. It's not my favorite trope ever, but in this it worked. Next we have Such Sharp Teeth, which I listened to this book on audio. I talked about this book the other day in my reading wrap up. I listened to this book on the way to a 17 concert with my brother. That was the K-pop band that we went to go see. It was fun. I blacked out the entire experience and actually couldn't tell you anything they played or what I heard, but I was just there for my brother. It was fun. Listened to the entire book on the way there, on the way back for my Angry Girlies. For my Angry Girlies, I did not expect to like this book at all. Like, I genuinely, going into it, the only reason why I slightly was like, oh, it's not going to be awful. It's not going to be bad. That's what I was thinking going into it because my friend Emily read it. Emily has good taste. Emily and I tend to like some of the same books. So I was like, you know what? It's not going to be bad. But I just didn't expect to relate to this book as much as I did. The rage, the anger, the way it was tied into this girl feeling a lack of control with her body because of her getting turned into a werewolf. That I related to in a different way. Obviously, I'm not someone who has gotten turned into a werewolf, but the lack of control of your body, I've dealt with multiple times in my life. It really hit. It really hit. The last book that I unexpectedly really loved is Legendborn. I have been scared to read this book all year because of the hype. I don't think I've ever heard one bad thing about this book, to be honest. I've never seen one bad review, never seen one harsh review or negative review, so I was nervous going into it because I was like, what if I don't like it? Like, everybody loves it. What if I don't like it? And I loved it so much. Dark Academia, Secret Societies, Bree, the main character, I really, really enjoyed her as a character. I was also nervous going into it because Bree is what, 16 or 17? She's young. And so I don't always do well with characters that are super young just because sometimes authors write them in a very immature way. Rightfully so, rightfully so. And I think the immaturity that Bree did have wasn't even bad. Like, she was making decisions that I was like, oh, that, you know what, valid. Makes sense. And that's the last book that I unexpectedly love. Now let's move on to the books that I DNF'd in the year 2024. My intention is not to sound bitchy with some of these books, but there are a few hater-like comments I have about a few of these, so just mentally prepare yourself. If you only like positive reviews, know yourself. I need you to read yourself right now. If you only like positive reviews, and you know it's gonna irk you if I'm like calling a few of these books out or like saying some things, then maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Otherwise, let's get into it. First, we have Love Redesigned. I keep giving Lauren Asher chances and I don't like them, so I don't know why I do that. I think I'm kind of done. Unless I listen to those Lauren Asher audiobooks that Georgia and I bought, if you watch my book haul. I just don't think her writing is for me. I felt like this book was so drawn out. I got halfway and I was like, I love a slow burn. That's saying a lot because I genuinely love a slow burn so much. You guys know, slow burn is my shit. I just felt like it was so unnecessarily drawn out. For me to say that is crazy, given that my favorite author is Mariana Zapata, but I couldn't do it. I was just bored and I was like, give me something. Give me something. This is a contemporary romance. I think I even donated my book. Most of the time when I DNF books, I still keep them on my shelf. A few of these that I'm going to mention today, I still have them on my shelf and I don't plan to get rid of them. This one I did get rid of. I donated it to my local neighborhood library. Next we have Taming Seraphine. Oh, I feel bad. Someone bought me this book actually at the beginning of this year. I no longer have it as an option like an Amazon storefront where people can buy me books because after this, I was like, I feel so bad. I had to DNF it because I felt like the MMC of the book was treating the FMC too much like a child. This is a dark romance and it's dark. It has dark themes and a lot of the dark themes I was loving for a while there, but then he genuinely was just treating her kid-like and I was like, I don't do that. That's not my cup of tea. I can't look past some of these comments, some of these phrases. It's a little much for me. And so I DNF'd it. Butterbean, why are we walking in circles? I'm gonna kick your ass. Go, you dork. Next we have Mickey Chambers Shakes It Up. I was listening to the audiobook of this and I just was not really loving the interactions between the MMC and the FMC. I can't exactly, what are you doing? I can't exactly remember why I DNF'd it. There was a specific reason I wasn't loving this book, but I cannot remember it for the life of me. This was an age gap romance. And I don't remember the specific reason I didn't like it, but I just didn't vibe with it. Please don't pop that football. I've been at work all afternoon, so she's a little crazy. She's a little cuckoo. She wants to hang out. When Life Gives You Lemons, girl, I remember why I DNF'd this one. The conversations between the MMC and the FMC in this book were so immature and annoying, I couldn't do it. Oh, that makes me feel mean. I just felt like it was trying to be banter, but it really just gave immaturity. And that's it. That's why I stopped reading it. I was like, I can't do this. I'm getting annoyed with both of you. Both of you were acting like you're 15 years old. Stop. Dark City Omega. The only reason why I DNF'd this book was because I was getting out of my Omegaverse phase and I was just kind of over it. That's it. I'll probably pick it up again when I get back in my Omegaverse phase. Because it wasn't bad. It was actually really, really fun. Like, the two main characters literally had to bundle together for body heat. Oh my god. Oh my god. They literally had to, like, bundle together for body heat. And I was like, okay, slay. We love that so much. And then I was like, you know what? I think my Omegaverse phase is coming to a close. I'll pick you back up next year. And Lord, please give me another Omegaverse phase in 2025. I'm begging. I need that. The Paris Apartment. It's actually like right there. Ass. Just kidding. It wasn't like fully ass. I just was so bored. I was so bored at the beginning of it. This girl goes to her brother's apartment in Paris and he's not there? Maybe? I don't know. I read the first like chapter and I was like, I'm bored. Man, I'm bored. The Woman in the Window. Another one where I can't tell you much about it because I got 2 chapters in and I was like, not for me. What is The Woman in the Window even about? I remember the cover of this. Woman in the Window. Oh, this lady in this book believes she's witnessed a crime in a neighborhood house. Oh, wait. Is this a book with an unreliable narrator? That might have been the reason I DNF'd it, because I heard it had an unreliable narrator and I was like, no, I can't do this. Or I was just incredibly bored. One of those reasons. Either way. Didn't get past 2 chapters. Next we have Empire of the Vampire. Guys, I'm actually gonna finish this one. This one was a soft DNF. It is just a thick ass book, and I got a little distracted a couple weeks ago when I was trying to finish it up. I have probably 100 pages left. It's really big. This is one of those books where I feel like I prefer it in TV show form. I prefer to watch this type of action and this type of storyline in a TV show, preferably like an anime. So it's just a very slow read for me. Soft DNF. I'll pick it up again next year. I will. Another DNF is King of Pride. I tried to read it again this year, and I just think this entire series by Anna Huang is not for me. I love the Twisted series. That series has a special place in my heart. King of Wrath was okay. I gave it 3.5. King of Pride, I tried to give it another shot, and I DNF'd it. I think I've gotten halfway through this book. It was just too slow for me. I wasn't engaged. I wasn't caring about the characters at all again, and I've given it 3 chances now, which is more than I've given any book ever. Why I did that, I don't know. I don't know. I just kept thinking it was right book, wrong time, but no, it's just not the book for me. Did I only put 9 on this list? Okay, well, I think that's only 9. There's gotta be some more books that I've DNF'd this year, but I didn't add them to this list. I tried to be good about adding them to this list this year, but I think I was not that good about doing so. I only included 9, so sorry. If I think of another, I'll put it on the screen. But that's it for today's Vlogmas video. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thanks for your sweet messages. I've loved making these videos for you guys, and I've loved getting to chit chat with you all in the comments every single day. 2 more days of Vlogmas. 2 more days of Vlogmas. That's actually really sad.